Hi, I'm Ken Howard,
I'm Tyler Osborn.
and we are going to be doing the luge of the 2018 Winter Olympics.
To start off, we first want to talk about a little bit of the history of luge. Luge is one of the oldest winter sports and involves competitors laying on their back on a sled with their feet out in front of them, racing down an ice track and reaching speeds up to 140 kilometers an hour, which is around 87 miles per hour. Luge originated in Switzerland, and the word luge itself is French for sled. One of the first luge tracks that was ever built was built by a Swiss hotel owner as a way to get people to come stay at his hotel as well as to cater for the thrill-seeking tourist. Luge was at the 1955 World Championships and made its debut in the Olympics in 1964. The picture on the right is a picture of the German luger Thomas Kohler from the 1964 Olympics. This picture definitely shows how far luge has come and the advancements to the track sled as well as wardrobe for the contestants, as you will see in the next slide. This slide is a point of view of a luger going down a track and it definitely shows us a lot. Some of the things to notice in this clip is just how fast the individual is going. And it's one thing to watch it from the views that we see on TV, but to see this view, it gives us a perspective of how it might actually be and how fast they have to make decisions. Another thing to notice is how they steer with their legs by pushing on the levers at the end of their sleds. We will talk more about this in a later slide with friction. Another thing to notice is how nice the track looks compared to the previous picture. Nowadays they are made of really hard ice, where back in 1964 when they started, they just cut paths out of the snow. So different events in the luge, there are 3 different events for luge: singles, doubles, and team relay. Men and women can participate in singles, but there is only doubles for men. When it comes to team relay, each team consists of 3 sleds: women's singles, men's singles, and doubles. Team relay is still a fairly new event, and it made its Olympic debut at the 2014 Olympics. To help visualize this, we have another short clip to show.
Once, but here is how it goes. 3 sleds per nation, clock runs continuously. First, you send down a female rider who at the bottom hits the touchpad, opening the top gate for the male rider who at the bottom hits the pad to send down the pairs who stop the clock. Team USA poised for the podium with a strong relay, but 3 experienced teams yet to go. Unfortunately for the U.S., they get repeatedly bumped.
The start of the race. At the start of the race, one of the most important aspects of the luge is to gain a great acceleration. Acceleration is the rate of change of velocity over a change in time. When velocity is constant, acceleration is 0. In the luge, it is very important that the luger gets off to a very quick acceleration so that the force of gravity doesn't have to do all the acceleration, which will take more time. Then the luger will get to its top velocity quicker, resulting in a quicker time. The luger for singles grabs onto 2 bars at the side of the sleds. A luger is usually fairly tall, and with tall people they have long arms. At the start of the race, a luger can use his arms to their full length. If a luger has a longer arm length, then it has more distance that it can use to generate force to increase their acceleration. Also, if they have longer arms, they can increase their displacement, which if they increase that with the same time, they will be increasing their velocity, which in turn will be increasing their acceleration, which will result in a faster start time, so they are more likely to be successful in bringing home the gold. He or she will then use his hands, which have little spikes on them, and claw at the ground to accelerate the sled even more. If this luger will get in his most After this, the luger will get in his most aerodynamic state and let gravity take over to pull the sled even faster and faster until they reach the optimal speed between 75 to 90 miles per hour. Another very important aspect of biomechanics in the luge is friction. Friction is when two objects are in contact, a friction force will be present if the two objects attempt to slide on each other. The friction force is always opposite the direction of the motion. The luge and ice have a very low friction force between each other. However, there are factors that change the force of friction. The normal forces that are pressing the sled and ice together. The properties of the two objects being smooth or rough. For the normal force, it is going to be the weight of the sled and luger added together. If the luger is too heavy, there will be a greater friction force causing the force of gravity not quite able to accelerate the sled as fast. However, if the weight is too small, the force of gravity will have a hard time overcoming the friction force. The trick is to play with the coefficient of friction. The coefficient of friction, the force needed to move one surface over another, and the pressure between the two, so that the luger can get the greatest speed, and the less friction there is, the faster they will be. The average weight of a woman luger is about 165 pounds, and a male about 198 pounds. However, the average weight for the luge men medalists this Olympics was 202 pounds, and the women was 169 pounds. They may also add up to 26 pounds of extra weight onto them, of extra weights, and for women 16 pounds, and for when they're doing doubles they can add up to 20 pounds. They do this because the weight can be an advantage. The other large way losers use friction is to turn the sled so that they do not crash into the walls, because that would hurt. If you have ever seen a skid steer work, it has the same visual effect as what happens with the luge. A skid steer has one side of tires moving or slowing down considerably while the other side continues at a fast rate. This causes the skid steer to turn towards the side that has stopped or slowed down. Same thing happens with the luge. The luger will bend the steels or skis on the sled as to create more friction on one side, causing the side of the sled to slow down, causing the sled to turn towards that side. This allows the luger to keep it to a good line, keeping the distance down, which is our next topic to discuss. Distance. Distance is the space in feet, meters, or inches that one travels to get to another point, from one point to another. In the sport of luge, if you have the shortest distance traveled on the track, it will most likely bring about the quickest time. It also allows for the greater speed because you won't be going all over the place, causing more friction, and a velocity that will be slower or quicker. A luger will study the track and pick a line that they will want to keep to. A luger will stay within an inch, if they're really good, of that line the whole way down, resulting in a greater speed and a distance that is the smallest, causing the luger to come out with a quicker time. As you can see from the picture on the right is a picture of the luge track in South Korea, and up top it tells us the distance at which this luge is.
So the results for the men in this year's Olympics, a notable win for us was with Chris Masder bringing home the silver for the U.S., which is a big deal since it was the first time that U.S. has ever medaled in the luge.
Also, it's usually Germany, Austria, and Switzerland who usually medal in this event.
These were the results for the women's and team relays. Some notable um, things for the women's was that Emily Sweeney um, had a pretty bad crash on her final run, as well as the team relay U.S. finished in fourth.